Right now, the next process is we got to go in and watch a film, and everything we just did on the field, we now got to process again. Was this a good decision? Was this a bad decision? Why did you make the decision? And then, all right, we're going to continue down this path, or no, we got to correct this.
Chip, the teams do you have to stack up with some of the better teams that you coach? You coach a lot of fast guys.
Yeah, I mean, this team can run. You know, there's no Noah Lyles, but I mean, he went 27-1 miles per hour. I mean, that was we talked about that. Coach Day showed that in the meeting. You know, talked about where he was and how he finished. There was a great lesson there. But there's a lot of guys at a lot of positions that can run. And the guys that are the most impressive to me are the big guys that can really run. You know, we got some bigger guys. Will Howard's a great example. Will went 22 miles an hour this summer at 237 pounds. So we got a bunch of guys who can move.
Just for Julian, when we were out there the first 4 days, it seemed like sometimes you guys gave him some opportunities to go with the ball, but also kind of reeled him back in when he was making some of those rushing mistakes. Just how would he handle maybe hard coaching?
Yeah, Julian's great, but again, I wouldn't read into it. He may have gotten with the ones because in the rotation, the whole group was changing on the fours, but the quarterback were changing on the twos. So it just matched up that he was with the ones. So whatever group they're in, and I tell our guys, I don't really care what group you're in. I care about how do you execute. What is your assignment? Do you have a plan when you get to the line of scrimmage, and do you execute that plan? So Julian's been great. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's helpful for everybody. You know, I think every position now has really embraced where we are. We've got some really smart guys that have been in the analyst roles here. Tim Drevno with the offensive line. You know, Drev's been an NFL O-line coach. He's coached at a lot of programs, a lot of Power 5 programs. So for him to be with the O-line, for Billy, who's got is one of the really bright young coaches in this country. You know, I hired Billy as my quarterback coach at UCLA, and we were fortunate to get him back here. And then when the rule changed, now he can actually give instruction on the field instead of just take notes and chart plays on the field. So all of that is beneficial. I think at every position, everybody has done a great job of using their analysts. And I know for all of us, you know, the more voices we can have, I think it's beneficial for the team.
How do you use them?
I think he does a great job with talking to who's not in. You know what I mean? You know, if you watch our quarterbacks, they're stacked up in behind. You know, so Billy's having conversations with them while whoever's in, Will's in, Devin's in, Lincoln's in. You know, he's got that group in behind, and they're going through that play. Where obviously, I don't have an opportunity while I'm watching the play and doing all that stuff. He can stand with those guys in behind and tell them what the play call is. You know, West right slot, 322, Y stick, look for the halfback on the burst here. He can have that conversation with those guys, and then they can talk about what was that read that the quarterback was in, while Coach Day and myself can give feedback to the quarterback that is in. So.
How do y'all play that meetings Chip? I mean, who knows when to speak up? You know, who can speak up and when to speak up and who they speak up to? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think in all rooms the position coaches run in the meeting room, but obviously we always use assistants. There's some times where you give projects, hey, we're going to the meeting today, you got 7-on-7, I'm going to take 11-on-11, so you can go back and forth with that.
Yeah. And offensive line, what stuck out at you the first several days? I mean, you see the makings of a good unit, great unit. What's just sort of your take? Right guard,
yeah, I do see a making of a really good unit, and I think the first thing that I noticed is that whole group worked extremely hard with Mick in the summertime. So where they are physically, you know, they came to camp ready to play and ready to compete. And again, the reps part for every position, not only quarterback, but whether it be right guard, right tackle, whatever it is we're just rolling. We're just trying to get as much film on tape. You know, you hear and you forget, you see and you remember, you do and you understand. So how many reps can we get for our players so that they really truly understand what we're doing? And that's what we're really trying to push through right now. Knock on wood, we've been really, really healthy so that we continue to play at least 3 full groups right now. So everybody's getting a ton of reps and we're just rolling. And then we got to run in there as quick as possible, watch the tape as the coaches, and then get ready for our afternoon meetings, and then get ready for walk through at night, and then we, you know, kind of rinse and repeat. That's kind of that's where we are in this mode of camp right now. So
Chip Ryan has mentioned a couple times that it feels like your impact has been largely to help enhance the running game, and that maybe the ideas you have are different from the last time you guys worked together. How has your philosophy for running football changed since the last time you guys worked together?
I think your philosophy is always built upon who your players are. So the last time we were together, we had different personnel. You know, so you're just always trying to feature what do you do really well, and then trying to mask what you don't do really well. So I think it's always morphed, and sometimes you're more of a run RPO team. Other times you're more of a spread them out. throw the ball down the field and then you're running screen and draws. It just really depends on your personnel. So I think maybe that's how it's changed a little bit, and our personnel's been different. So, you get to learn some new things to adapt it to your personnel.
What do you think what would this team do?
They do a lot well. That's the good thing about this place. I don't think there's one singular thing. I think there's a lot of talent in the running back room. There's obviously a lot of talent in the wide receiver room. So I think there's going to be a good balance. Very similar. Yeah. A lot of the same things. Most of it was just terminology. He had to change some terminology when he got here, and then I'd learn the new terminology. But because he speaks the old language, he can say, hey, you called it this, we call it this. So it's more just that than anything else.
This goes more into general. This goes into more, maybe general quarterbacking stuff. But I think we've seen Will's accuracy improve the longer he's been here. At least just watching practice and things. How much of accuracy is timing, chemistry with receivers, and how much of it is the actual technical side?
Well, I think a lot of that would be knowledge. So if I just got here and I've never run a play before live, I'm still trying to think the X is here, the Z is here, ball snap. I think Will has done a really good job really working on the playbook in the offseason, studying film so that he understands when there's a play call made that he knows where to go with the football. So, a lot of the accuracy things that maybe a young quarterback doesn't have is that, well, he looks like he's tentative and he's not very accurate. Well, he may not really understand the concept or the routes that we're running right now. He's got a kind of an idea, but he probably got the Cliff Notes version. Right now, he's really studied it and understands it, and I think give Will that credit. He's really done a great job of kind of putting himself in that position right now. Yeah, I think he moves better. I mean, obviously, like I said before, he ran 22 miles an hour at 237 pounds, so you can see that in his ability to not only run faster, but I think he's got a lot more stamina. He can last longer during the course of a training session. So, really a credit to him and credit to Mick and those guys in the weight room for what they did with all of our guys in the offseason.
Between you and Ryan, it's kind of interesting because you raised that like when I get older, I don't tell my dad to fix a car, I'm an adult. This makes sense when I'm adult. What's the dynamic like now? Are you still a mentor even though he's your boss? What's your relationship like as you're working together?
I think we're both trying to win. So I think when you're trying to win, I don't think you look at it like who's the mentor or who's the boss. It's how do we put our players in a position to make plays, and that's the bottom line. And I think the good thing is that we know each other so well. Like neither of us has an ego. I don't care if it's his idea or if it's my idea or Brian Hartline's idea. And I think Brian's really sharp, and really adds a lot to what we do. Or Justin or Carlos Lockwood who just came in. Keenan Bailey is a huge studier of the game of football and has some real good ideas. So, I think we have a bunch of people that we ask our players to be unselfish. I think as coaches, you have to be the same exact way. And I don't care if I get credit for anything. I just want to win games. And I think that's the way Ryan feels the same exact way. And, I think we're on the same page from that standpoint. So I don't think we look at it from that standpoint. You know what I mean?
A couple more minutes for Chip, guys.
Yeah.
Ryan said big to media that you're trusting. Mentor, mentee, just the idea of having a connection with a coach.
I think that's important, obviously. That's a pretty big statement, but I feel the same way. I think there's a long history. We grew up in the same hometown. We've known each other for almost 40 years now, so it's not we coached together in the NFL for 2 years, and then we got back together again. So there's, when you go through it, it's the same elementary school, the same junior high, the same high school, the same college. I recruited him, coached him in college. I know his family well. I know his entire family well, I think. And we're all products of the same hometown with the same coaches that coached him in youth sports, coached me in youth sports. So there's always going to be that connection. So I think that's a little bit different just because of that dynamic from it's not just a history of 2 years together in the NFL. It's 40 years of, growing up in the same hometown. So.
Tim, Ryan said that he'd like to have, ideally, a quarterback starter name in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Do you think that is on the path?
That's a great question by you, and I know exactly where you're going with that. So I don't have an answer for you. That's a good question. That's a great way to phrase it.
Is there a difference that reminds me of the guy who's not only taking the drug, but willing to run?
Well, I think it challenges the defense, and I talked to Jimmy Knowles. We spent a lot of time with our defensive staff. They do a great job of what hurts you, and really what don't you want to see. But when you have somebody that can be a dual threat, that's a really tough thing to defend sometimes because, all right, we're going to play two-man and lock up these receivers and double their two best receivers and go. Well, if they've all turned their back to the quarterback and the four-man rush doesn't get home and the quarterback now takes off, there's nobody left. And it's not, I think, obviously we know how fast Will is, so it's not like if he runs, it's a 6-yard game. Like if he takes off, it could be a 60-yard game. And he had a few of those. I think he went 60 against Texas. I mean, he's had some really big runs in his career so far, so I think that's just another tool in your toolbox, but it makes you a little bit more multidimensional. You look at the trend that's gone in the NFL, a lot of those guys, can they keep plays alive and can they extend plays because of their athleticism? Lamar does that, Patrick Mahomes does that, Josh Allen does that. Will's probably more like Josh just because he's a bigger guy. But it does add a dimension to your offense.
Steve, Steve and then Cam.
Okay.
Does Julian have that capability too?
Yeah, Julian, every quarterback in our group runs over 20. And Will runs 20, I think he went 22-1, and he was the fastest. But like Lincoln was 21-9, like Lincoln can go. Devin, obviously, we know he's got that. And Julian was over 20 this summer. Air runs at 21. So all of those guys run over 20 miles an hour. So we don't have anybody that's a statue back there. But we're also not going to run them 25 snaps a game. They're not Tim Tebow now, so we're not direct snapping it to them and running quarterback power. It's just another facet of what we can do, and that you have to account for the quarterback in the running game.
Last two questions, Steve and then Cam.
Chicago, Ryan Day says he would trust you with his life. Just to hear a guy that you coach, a guy that you work with, that's got to be the ultimate compliment and make you feel that you got into this and having that impact on
Yeah, but I would say that wasn't a surprise to me. So we've known that, and as we've had a relationship that goes back a long, long time. So, and I feel the same way. So our families are really close, and we grew up in a great hometown where that sense of community and sense of loyalty and sense of love for one another is always been fostered. So, it means a lot that he would say that, but I feel the same exact way.
Cam.
We watched Brandon McGinnis.
Yeah.
Obviously healthy, but in and out of cuts.
Sure.
How much
Folks, we have Aaron Nolan on the North 20.
motions and different things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with BI, and it was unfortunate that we didn't have him during most of the spring, so I didn't get to see him, and I knew who he was. He was a highly recruited kid coming out of high school, but to see him now, but I love his competitive nature. He competes, and I think it kind of brings that competitive level, and I think to a really good competitive wide receiver room, it kind of takes it to another level. So to have him back out there as another weapon, to go along with Mac and Carnell and JJ and those other guys and Bryson and JB, there's a bunch of really talented guys in that room, but to have him back healthy is a really big plus for us right now.
Great. Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Coach, I'm going to bring you over here.
Oh my God.
This is the coach. Folks, we have Devin Brown on the South 25.